All right, to reset everybody, this is the Fed has no idea what it's
Yeah.
doing issue. We're gonna wrap it up. Good conversation, Gary. Thing number five, with the petrodollar falling, what happens to the price of oil, Gary? Definitely interested, especially with DKI's oil positions.
Yeah, we've had huge oil positions since late 2021 that they've been hugely profitable. Back a couple of years ago, I saw a phenomenal series of posts on on Alex Macris's blog, Contemplations on the Tree of Woe, which is a phenomenal name for a blog. And he wrote a four-part piece talking about the creation of the petrodollar. And that was the event in the 1970s when the United States agreed to provide security guarantees for Saudi Arabia in exchange for the Saudis agreeing that they would only sell oil in US dollars. And then if they had excess dollars, they would use those to buy US treasuries. And what that did was that meant that every country who wanted to buy energy, which is every country, needed to have dollars. And that created a massive demand for dollars for the following 50 years. In exchange, the Saudis had stability and protection. And so, that was the agreement that was made. Um, and Alex Macris wrote this phenomenal four-part series talking about the history of the petrodollar and his projections for the future of the petrodollar and what was going to happen. And he pointed out how much demand for the US dollar relies on everyone all over the world needing dollars to buy energy. It's something that everybody needs. And I reached out to Alex and I said, "This is a phenomenal piece. Can I host part one on the DKI blog?" And he was kind enough to give me permission. And we started talking. And at some point, we agreed that I would write part five, and I did. And so Alex's four-part series talked about the history and the future of the petrodollar. And what I did, because this is typically my thinking, is less is this good or bad, and it's been bad, and more, okay, what do we do now? Right. And I wrote part five telling people, okay, look, Alex has pointed out a huge problem. He's right. No one panic. Don't get upset. What do we do? Right. And part of it was things like own energy. And we made a fortune in energy plays. We've more than doubled our money in uranium. We've made 4 to 5x our money in Bitcoin. We've done really well in gold. Hey, these are the kinds of things that I told people to do in response. And so Alex was able to put all of that together and he turned his four-part series into a book called Running on Empty. And it sells on Amazon. I highly advise it. I've read it 3 times. So if any of you want to know what I think, that's what I think. And he was kind enough to ask me to write the foreword and then, put my name on it as well. Again, I only wrote the foreword. But I think it is a phenomenal piece of work. And now that we're 50 years into the creation of the petrodollar, and there's a lot of talk about the fact that it is ending, that the Saudis are pricing oil in currencies other than the dollar. They're selling oil in currencies other than the dollar. I'm starting to see questions about that, and it's great that Alex was 2 years early on this, but it's great that people are starting to pay attention to it now. I think that's a huge plus.
Gary, you think that crude will continue to be priced in dollars, even with the Saudis accepting other currencies? What exactly? Just talk to us about what that means. What does it look like for the price of oil? What does it do to the dollar, right, when there is going to be this opportunity to purchase with these other currencies?
I think what's going to happen for the near future, yeah, and by near, I mean, next 5, 10 years, um, is we're going to see the same kind of pricing in oil that we actually see in Bitcoin. And so one of the things that people complain about regarding Bitcoin is they say, well, it's not really a currency. You can't buy things in it. And everybody who's used the Lightning Network has said, wait a minute, or everybody, who's been to El Salvador or try to pay their taxes in Japan. I said, wait a minute, wait, I can buy things in Bitcoin. You actually can do that. And then the critics, so the critics are wrong on that, but then the critics make, in my opinion, an excellent point. They say, okay, you're paying in Bitcoin, but the price is in dollars or pesos or yen. Um, and it's just being converted at an exchange rate. And that's valid. That's true. Right. So if you want to go buy something with Bitcoin, I'm making this up. Bitcoin, I think this morning was around $66,000. So if the price of it is, of the thing that you want to buy a car for $66,000, you could pay for it with one Bitcoin. If the price of Bitcoin goes up, you'll pay for it with less than one Bitcoin. If the price of Bitcoin goes down, you'll pay for it with more than one Bitcoin. The point is, you can use Bitcoin to pay, but the price is being set in dollars. And I think that's what's going to happen with energy. I think, the Saudis have already started accepting non-dollar payments for oil. They've already broken the petrodollar. Part of it is because they despise the current White House, but they have their reasons. And so what will happen is they may say, okay, if oil is $80 a barrel, and the Chinese come in and they say, we want to pay with yuan, they'll use the exchange rate and figure it out. And if the Japanese want to buy oil in yen, they can do that, but they'll use the dollar exchange rate. It'll all end up netting to an $80 a barrel price in oil. So I don't know that breaking the petrodollar changes the price of oil. I think what it does do is it creates less demand for the US dollar over time. It creates less urgency for countries to hold dollars because they won't need to pay for their energy in it. And if there's less demand for the dollar, well, we have less interest in the dollar, less purchasing power of the dollar, and that's how you end up with more inflation. So I don't think all of this so much changes the price or the value of oil or energy trading. I think what it does is it weakens the value of the dollar over time, just like over the last 50 years, we've had artificial strength in the dollar as a result of every country in the world needing to buy dollars in order to buy oil. So I think that's the direction we're going to head. It'll be interesting to see what happens. Regarding Japan, they would likely see higher dollar prices for oil as the dollar weakens, but similar yen prices, because a weaker dollar would comparatively strengthen the yen. So, this thing goes in circles and circles. That's my view on it now. We'll have to see over the next few years what happens and how much oil trading takes place in other currencies as well.
Great stuff, Gary, as always. This concludes this week's edition of The Five Things. Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in and watching wherever you may be coming from. Please head to the deepknowledgeinvesting.com website. Grab a free subscription to be added to our free list, as well as premium subscribers will receive content and information on a primary basis, as well as some things that are paywalled, and all current recommendations, as well as exit points on positions. Gary, thanks so much again. Please give Gary a like, follow, subscribe to the channel. Every little bit goes a long way. Please share, or just even thank you so much for watching. Gary, any final thoughts?
Rob, thanks so much for doing this with me at 8 a.m. on a Sunday morning. Very nice. I appreciate it. Suggesting to everyone, go buy Alex Macris's book, Running on Empty. I strongly recommend it. It's not long, it's easy to follow, but has a lot of really valuable historical and financial information in it. If you want to understand what's going to happen in the energy world over the next few years, this would be one of the key things I'd be looking at. Other than that, thank you so much for spending your time with us. I know it's valuable. We really appreciate it, and wishing everybody a happy Father's Day. We'll see you all next week.